Welcome to the PrepZone show. I am Johnathan Bentley, joined with my co-host, Zach McCullar. Zach, we had some great games last week.
We did. It was really
Actually,
we've seen
finally.
a lot of clunkers, for lack of a better word, the past several weeks, and then this week we finally got some good ones.
Yeah, and let's jump right in. The first game is one of these ones we're talking about. Jasper got a win.
They finally got that win
believe that?
on homecoming too. So it's always good to win a game on homecoming, and Jasper was able to do that. Though they nearly blew that game at the very end, allowing an onside kick. And
If they would have got another onside kick, it would have been really interesting. But 50-42 Jasper, and I just like it for those kids.
I do too, because Jasper's a very proud program. They've had so much success, and then this year you're going you were 0-6. And to finally get that win, avoid going possible 0-10. Now Jasper can build off of that and try to build more wins.
Why does 1-9 sound so much better than 0-10? I don't know.
Well, because it's a win. At least got a win.
So much better. Yeah, and they were chasing all these records. The last winless team was 68. They don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. And boy, Pledger had a great game. I did not write down our play of the week, but it was Pledger. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean,
Micah Pledger. He can really look like a special athlete, and that's because he is one. He's really something special for Jasper.
They're lucky to have him. Sophomore, and hopefully 2 more years of him. All right, so a game you were at, kind of a blowout down here, 63-6. Lynn over Brilliant.
Lynn, they scored on their first 2 plays from scrimmage, and Cal Tittle had an absolute massive game. Last week I said that Brennan Connor at corner will probably win Player of the Year, not Cal Tittle, but after seeing him, he's got to win Player of the Year. And I don't want to jinx him and have him throw 4 or 5 interceptions in the next game, but he played an absolute stellar game. And it's not only his passing, it's his rushing too, because you'd cover all of his receivers, so he's just going to take off and burn you for 60 yards.
These poor 1A teams, they don't have much of a chance. Even Pickens didn't.
Lynn could compete as a 3A school. They could compete on a level like that.
Yeah, they have a incredible talent. Let's jump to the game I was at really fast. Corner, which you see the helmet here.
Yeah.
It's a great logo, right?
Yeah, that's really, a good.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
It is.
I like, a lot of times Yellow Jackets, you'll see the just generic Yellow Jacket or something.
Jacket. And
Curry has a great logo too.
Curry's got a good logo. They don't use, your...
I don't like that old school Yellow Jacket.
With the sweater and the
They did their own Yellow Jacket. They have this C as well as a new, muscular Yellow Jacket.
You've got to have one just to paint on the side of your field house or something. But
I'm a big logo guy. I'll tell you what's awful, Washington State. That's a terrible logo.
Really?
I
always liked that logo.
Really, I can't tell what's happening.
Bad.
ATM, Texas A&M's another bad logo.
To be perfectly honest, it's an intriguing logo because it's the block T and then the block A&M.
Yes.
It's not great, but it's not bad either. If you want a very bad logo, in my opinion, where do you look? There aren't a whole lot of... Tulane with the fighting green wave. It's
bad.
Not
you
great.
Imagine Alabama having that, a red wave with fists and a face on it. No way.
Oh my.
So we got off on a tangent there.
Yeah, we did.
Dora, 62 points. Hamilton 40. We talked about this earlier. We were kind of surprised when Hamilton put up 40, but I think that was junk time.
That's probably true. And of course, that had to drive Coach Williams crazy because he wants his second teamers to beat your first teamers. Right. And so only a 22-point game, but a win's a win, and they can improve on this. Watch film, get the defense, straightened out, especially when the game is under control.
Yeah, their offense is clicking right now.
Oh, yes.
Northside, man, how bad? Cordova just can't win a game like this, period. 2 years in a row,
last year
they cannot win a game like this.
Last year they lost 4 games like that, and it's already coming back. They lose to Northside 34-31 in overtime. Oh, my goodness.
The crazy thing is they're hitting field goals. I think they made 2 field goals in this game.
And Northside, they had a field goal to win it, didn't they? And they missed it.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. In overtime, they got the touchdown. Let's see. Well, corner, kind of mentioned them. 42-13. That was not that close. It reminded me of Colorado, which was up 29 at halftime. That was their score at halftime. And they took care of business 42-13. Meek, 30-0 over Shoals. Shoals Christian was undefeated. This tells you the difference from region to region. They're undefeated in the region this late in the season. Meek goes there. It's 30-0 at halftime. It's also the final. Just ran over them.
Yeah, Meek absolutely dominated that game. And like you said, it just shows the region. And to be perfectly honest, you take out Meek and Addison and Hackleburg. Meek's region is no better at all, but still Meek with a good win there, 30-0, shows that they're going back to their winning ways.
And Shoals Christian has a good chance to make the playoffs.
That's true.
That 4 seed is going to be really pretty bad team probably. Tuscaloosa Academy, they just walloped. I was kind of surprised by the score, 35-7 over Winston County. That was a 4-2 teams playing each other. Winston County, now they got to win one of these last two for sure.
Yeah, it's true. And they, it seemed like they had the playoffs all wrapped up, and now it's starting to unravel a little bit. 35-7. I was surprised by that too. I
think it's a bad matchup.
I thought it was going to be a really close game. You're right. It had to have been a bad matchup.
They have a really good quarterback. And how is a team in Tuscaloosa? Now, they've only been around a couple of years, 2A. I wonder if that's one of those that jumps up a couple.
That might be
classes.
3 or 4A next season for all we know.
All right, Haleyville beat Curry 53-20. Do we need to say anything about Winfield Carbon Hill 46-0?
No, Carbon Hill still hadn't scored in the first half of a football game, but you think Winfield, just looking at the rivalry, you'd think Winfield would have put up more than 46 points. So, maybe it's a sign that the defense was able to get, make a couple of stops and try to build on that. They've got a couple of somewhat winnable games with Midfield and Tarrant coming up, and Oak Grove to end the season. Oak Grove has struggled the past couple of weeks, so Carbon Hill could build some momentum.
No more Gordos, no more Winfields. Right. So that's a good thing.
Next season, Gordo's probably not going to be in that region. Gordo, I'm going to just guess that they're probably moving up to 4A.
That would really help everybody. And speaking of logos, Winfield has City on their helmet.
Yeah, Winfield City. Technically it's Winfield City High School.
Yes, they have changed the name. So. That's correct.
Might as well.
Yeah, it's just weird to see.
They've got the classic pirate logo. You'll see occasionally
I like
the
that
old Tampa Bay, something similar to the Tampa Bay with the knife in your teeth.
And so, all right, let's talk about – we kind of mentioned this already too. We just got to talk about Kel Tittle for a minute. We don't have a Lynn Hellman, otherwise maybe we'll be
that's
here.
A shame.
But, have we seen a player do this kind of stuff? Do you remember another player doing these? Well, let me just mention what he's done first. In the last 3 weeks, he's rushed for 581 yards and 9 touchdowns and thrown for 624 and 8. That's 17 touchdowns.
In 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
That's an average of, 6 touchdowns a week?
Yeah, he's going to do it every week.
Goodness.
It reminds me of, we have to go way back, Tim Simon. It's one of those guys that could be player of the week every week.
Right.
It's just, you saw him in person. What did you think?
Absolute perfection, it seemed like, almost.
I think he had one incompletion.
One incompletion, you're right, but he scored. It felt like he was scoring a touchdown on every single play, whether he was running it or throwing it. And he's got an excellent team around him. I'm not trying to discredit, Cole Kelly Logan Madison and all the rest of their players. Braylon Roberts also had a couple of touchdown receptions, but he is such an excellent football player.
Yeah, it's a team effort. He would be the first to tell you that. It's a team effort. The line's great also. Open up these holes. But I hope, you think he'll be there's 3 finalists for kind of like the 1A Offensive Player of the Year, and surely he'll be one of those, right?
He has to be.
I was hoping he would last year. He wasn't.
If he's not, it's a miscarriage of justice.
Yes, great. Because, it's something special. You don't see this every year. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he graduates, so go out and see Lynn.
Yes,
Make the trip.
If he was at a larger school, he could, and he still might have a chance at, a small college.
Yeah. Well, I think he's so good at baseball too.
That's true. Very
true. It was our player of the year in baseball.
He can do anything.
He's a decent basketball player, just an athlete. All right, so let's jump into this week's games. Got some good ones, some not so great. We'll start with John Carroll at Jasper. This tells you we're almost at the end of the season. It's Jasper's last home game.
It is. It's senior night, most likely. And Jasper, they're coming off an emotional win on homecoming. And the question is, will they feed off that momentum or will they have a hangover? And I think they're going to feed off the momentum.
I do too.
Unfortunately, the John Carroll Cavaliers are just too big, too talented for Jasper. Close game. I think Jasper hangs with them a lot more than you would expect if you're just looking at the game on paper. But the Cavaliers win a close one.
Yeah, I'm thinking Jasper finally has turned that corner.
They have.
And it was the first win for Coach Reeves over there, David Reeves. So that's a good thing for everybody last week. But I'm also taking John Carroll's they're actually pretty good this year. And this is a really good, 5-2 is really good for John Carroll. All right, so Curry at corner, 1-7 Curry. 2 great logos.
2 great logos.
And 2 Yellow Jackets.
The Yellow Jackets, the Battle of the Yellow Jackets. Corner gets a few more stings in than Curry and wins big.
Yeah, Corner 7-0 set the school record last week for wins which is crazy.
Yeah,
They've been around this long, 7 wins. But now they can put together it'd be crazy if it was like a double digit. But they're going for 8 in a row, and I see that happening. Oak Grove at Cordova, 4-3 Oak Grove.
This is intriguing because Cordova, like Jasper, they took Northside down to the wire, so maybe maybe they're starting to claw back up, and Oak Grove is on a 3-game losing streak. Yes. So if Cordova is going to get another win, this is going to be it. I think it's going to be close. It's at Cordova, but I just got to go with Oak Grove because I think Oak Grove's got a little too much talent for Cordova, but I think it'll be a close and good game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a lot like last week.
Right.
Oak Grove needs this. I think they are in the playoffs anyway, but they could,
That's true. If they fall apart and lose this game and maybe lose another, there's a chance they might not make the playoffs.
Northside gets in it. Well, they beat Northside.
That's true.
They've had some big wins this year, but that's going to be close.
That fourth spot's going to be wide open because you've got Corner, you've got Dora, and of course Haleyville's really
Haleyville
played
would be
very
the 3
well
at this point.
So 4 would be between Northside and Oak Grove, and like you said, Oak Grove's got the tiebreaker.
So they need Northside needs them to win, Cordova to win this game. I'm going Oak Grove, but I could see that going the other way. But Cordova they're not lucky.
Yeah,
if they were a lucky team, I'd say yes.
Yeah, they got to win just one of these games that goes down to the wire. Just one, but
it's unbelievable, really, because they're a pretty good team.
They are.
Northside at Dora. Speaking of Northside, coming off that Cordova game, they have to come back to the county, go to Dora this week. Dora 5-2.
In all honesty, you look at this, and Northside's one of the big brands of the area. They've always been very successful, and they're coming to Dora. This is a down year for the Northside Rams. Dora is looking good. They're 5-2 right now. I think Dora's going to win this one pretty big.
Yeah, I do too. Dora's rolling right now. They've made a change at quarterback. Colby Key is now the quarterback, and he threw for 3 touchdowns. Now it was Hamilton, so it was kind of the perfect game to make that switch. They made the switch because they've had, I think, 2 receivers are out. So put Keyshawn Pryor at receiver, and God,
Keyshawn Pryor can play at any position on the field.
Yeah, just get the ball to him.
Except probably offensive lineman. You don't want him to get hurt wasting it on offensive
He's big enough to do it.
That's true.
Yeah, you don't want him hurt. Exactly. He's electric. Oakman at Gordo, maybe the biggest game of the week, actually.
It probably is. These are both one-loss teams, and Oakman, they've looked impressive. They got a win over Fayette County. Their only loss was the first game of the season to Sargent, but they're playing Gordo.
Yeah, it's a different beast here.
It's so hard to beat Gordo because Gordo's a team that would be a playoff team in 4A, and they'd be mediocre at 5A.
If you put them in Jasper's region, I wonder how Gordo would do. They'd probably make the playoffs.
They would. I think they could hit a 4th seed in that region. That shows just how talented Gordo 3A is, how good they are. I think Oakman's going to come out here, put up an excellent fight, and they're going to play well, but too much green wave. Speaking of green waves, you mentioned
the Tulane green waves. Yeah. This is more of the Packers.
Right, they have the Green Bay logo.
Look exactly like the Packers. So you're basically playing an NFL team.
It feels like it. It feels like it sometimes.
And then it's kind of like Hamilton is Alabama. Or is it Hamilton or Haleyville? Haleyville is Alabama. Looks just like them. All right, so I'm also going Gordo. I think Oakman does keep this close. Just the way they play.
Right, they have enough tenacity.
Yeah, they don't. You're just not going to blow them out most of the time. But I will take Gordo. If Oakman win this, if they could win this game,
they're going to win the region. They'll win the region if they win this, in my opinion. Of course, they've still got Winfield left, don't they? Yeah.
Winfield City.
That's true. Yep. You got to add that in there.
All right, so Lynn at Berry is going to be kind of like the game you went to last week, probably?
Oh, yes. I think it might actually be worse. I think Lynn – I don't think Kel Tittle's going to get much playing time into the late third, early fourth quarter, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be another big stat game.
Yeah, I agree. Berry 2-5, they're kind of out of the playoffs already, and Lynn is just – they're in a coast. Yeah, they're in coasting mode at this
Lynn
point.
Is a behemoth. They're going to, in my opinion, they're going to run over anybody left on their schedule.
Yeah.
Except maybe South Lamar. South Lamar is a very talented team. They might give Lynn some fits.
That's going to set up perfectly if they keep winning and clash for the region championship. That's how it's supposed to go.
Right.
All right, Vina at Meek. Vina hasn't won a game yet.
They're not going to win one this week either. Meek's going to win by... Meek could legitimately win 70-something to nothing. They've already put up 72 once this season. They could do it again.
Yeah. Poor Vina. That's good. It's going to be 5-3 for Meek. They might go 6-4 this year. They got Oakman later. Falkville at Addison. Falkville's always pretty good. I remember they came to Winston County and won last year.
And Falkville can always be, they're always a tough out, pesky team to play, but this Addison team is like the Addison team of a few years ago when they would dominate and go 8-2, 9-1 every season. This Addison team is for real, and I think they're going to win this one pretty big.
Yeah, I do too. It's weird that's a non-region game this late in the year. It's kind of a weird spot.
Yeah, you don't see non-region games, at
week 8.
This point.
All right, on Winston County, Aliceville, another huge game. I mean, Winston County pretty much has to have it.
Right. If Winston County loses this, they're at 4-4. Then their next game, they would have Lamar County.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough
That's going to be tough. And I think Winston County's going to play well, but last season when it came down to clutch times, they just couldn't hang on. They blew several leads late in the season.
The football game.
And then against Aliceville too, they had a big lead, and they blew it. And so I think Aliceville's going to be able to win this one, but it'll be a good game, I think.
What happened last year was that I think they ended up the 3 or the 4, went somewhere and clobbered, I think, Cleveland. And then you ran into Fayette, which is going to happen to everybody in the North.
And they did. They played Fife, and they played
it was It was as good as it could be.
Right.
I think it was 34-6 or something.
Fife could win at 4A. They could win anywhere you put them.
Yeah, it's just an incredible program. One of the best in the state. Our last game is Carbon Hill at Midfield. Does Carbon Hill have a chance here?
I think they have a chance. Midfield is 2-4. They've been struggling, but it's at Midfield. And I think Midfield's probably going to win this one big. But if Carbon Hill's going to have a game where they stay in it, this could be it.
This is one of them. Yeah,
it's one of them.
One of the chances.
Next week against Tarrant is also
a game they won last year, Tarrant.
Right.
All right, so let's jump into the top 5 here. And it's probably the same 5. Last week, I think we had it exactly the same.
Yeah, last week or the week before that one. I wonder if we'll have the same this week.
Yeah. So let's start with number 5.
Yeah, I got Door at number 5. The fact that they allow 40 to Hamilton is a little alarming, but like you say, it's probably just garbage time. And the reason they dropped to 5 is not because they haven't looked extremely impressive. It's because the team that jumps them has really looked good recently as well.
Yep, my 5 is Addison.
Okay.
Who you probably have at 4.
Yeah, they're probably.
But I mean, they are. I didn't expect this year. I kind of expected Meek in that spot.
I did too.
And I actually expected Meek to maybe be undefeated at this point. But Addison, 2 losses, and really close games. Could have easily won that Hackleburg game. That would have really helped.
And then Winston County, of course.
Winston County
first
blanked
week
them
of
in
the
the
season.
Opener. Yeah, that was really a 1-score game till late. But so I have Addison there, and I don't see them losing another regular season game, actually.
I completely agree with you there. I've got Addison at 4, like you predicted. For everything you said, they're a really talented team, well coached. Jed Wilkins plays kind of anywhere on the field that they can put him, he plays and he succeeds. So Addison's really set up for a playoff run, I think.
Yeah, I think they're better than they were last year.
They're going to be
in a better spot too.
They're going to be a dangerous 2 or 3 seed.
So I have at number 4, mine is Oakman, which didn't play this week. And, of course, they've only got 1 loss. So they could have actually been in front of my 3 team. Kind of had them on top of each other here. But Oakman, now, if they beat Gordo, they will jump up.
Oh, yeah. If they
beat Winfield, even if they lose Gordo and beat Winfield,
That's right.
They're in the perfect spot, better than what I thought they'd be at this point.
And also, you say perfect spot. Everybody expects them to lose to Gordo and Winfield except themselves. So, if they lose that, oh, well, it's kind of what you expected. You're still the 3 seed. But if they win, oh, man, that's massive.
Yeah, if they had a home playoff game, it'd be incredible. Especially after last year when they had to go to Piedmont and it was 60-something, 61-0, I believe.
But anybody's going to have that happen against
Piedmont, especially if you're the 4 seed, which they won't be this year. All right, so what about yours?
Yeah, my number 4 is Addison, like I mentioned, 5 Door, so go to number 3. Who do you think number 3 is?
I have Door as my 3.
All right, well, I got Oatman, who you just mentioned.
Yeah,
so yeah, I'm basically for the same thing you said once again. Oatman, well coached, a lot of talented. I mean, it sounds the same, but we have a lot of well coached teams in our area.
Yeah, we really do. These have really good coaches. Ryan Hall has a great staff over there.
Oh, yes.
I'm impressed all year. Dora making some changes kind of late in the year is kind of weird, but they had to do it. Losing Garrett Hoagland, God does everything.
Yeah, losing Hoagland that's a massive blow.
I know he can do everything. He was quarterback a couple years ago. He's receiver. I mean, just does everything.
And that's one of the reasons I had them drop down a spot because I mean they are dealing with injuries Right now, they're at 5th. When they get healthy, they'll go back up.
Yeah, and I really don't see them losing again this year either, hopefully. All right, what about – so we're in the top 2 now?
Yeah, I believe so, and I believe we're going to have the same top 2. Number 2 –
this might be one of these teams.
Yeah, number 2 is going to be the Lynn Bears. They look extremely impressive. Any other year, they'd be the number 1 team because their only loss – and we've said this so many times, but Alabama Christian at Montgomery by 10 points, definitely not a bad loss to have. So they are an impressive team, and they could still make state championship game, I think.
They have the talent. You've seen them. But I will say that about Lynn, the Alabama Christian game last year. Alabama Christian came to Lynn and just out there with 30-something points. I mean, just wiped them off the floor. And now this year they only lost by 10. It was within a touchdown to late.
It was.
So it's a completely different deal. This team has taken a step up when it looked like it was going to be hard to do.
A massive step up. This is a real title contender.
Yeah, it was a semifinalist last year. And number 1.
Going to be Corner.
Talk about Corner here. Yeah, I mean, you're undefeated. No one I didn't expect. They might have expected it. I didn't. I didn't see it coming.
My preseason projection for Corner was 5-5.
Right.
That did not happen in the least. Corner has looked really good, and that's coaching and that's talent. They have been very impressive. I mean, look, they went to Dora and beat Dora, and that is not easy to do. Just ask Aniana.
Yeah, that was the best game I saw this year. So I went to Oak Grove. Oak Grove, I will say this about last week. They had a great field.
I've never heard anything bad about their facilities.
It is great. Now they have a turf, just like Corner does from last year. They took care of all the Jefferson County teams, and there's the red. It just looks really good, but Corner enjoyed that field too. They had a great game across the board. So that's our number 1, as usual. So let's talk about teams in the playoffs. Since we know most of them, I mean, there's, 3 weeks to go? But most of these have 1 or 2 region games left. So, all right, Corner is in. Dora's in. Oakman, Lynn, Addison. Is Meek going to make it? At this point, they're not in, I don't believe.
Right, but they have 2 region games left, and it's against Vine and Cherokee.
Now, Cherokee's having a good year for Cherokee.
That's true, but
Cherokee standards.
But it's really still not going to wind up, in my opinion, and I could be shocked, but I think right now, Meek is probably going to sneak into that 4 spot.
I think they'll make it too. I mean, they're in a, like we said, the top of this region is so good, and after the top 3 is just, it's not very good.
I say 4. They'll probably wind up at 3rd, thinking about everybody.
I think they'll be the 3.
And
that could be a good 3.
And anybody, I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Meek, but anybody could be the 3 or 4 seed in that region. But really, they have a lot of talent, and to be 3rd is kind of a shame, especially after how last year went, going 10-0.
I did not expect that. Hackleburg, I did not see that coming. That's the thing about 1A. You ought to have somebody jump up there. And Hackleburg wasn't terrible.
No, they were, your 4-6, 5-5.
Kind of like Sullivan.
Exactly.
They went from not even making the playoffs to undefeated. So that Oakman loss looks really good now that Sullivan. Oakman's played well since. So it looks like Corner, Corner and Dora, this is a lot like last year. Haleyville's in the mix.
That's true. Haleyville's.
If it's a 3-way tie, Corner still has to go to Haleyville.
Which is going to be extremely tough.
Really tough.
And if Corner loses any game left on their schedule, that would be it.
Are they going to, does that put them in 3rd? Would that not be a shame having 2 years in a row come down to the last region game? Yeah, maybe this team is better. It's different. It is a really different team and a great coaching staff. So hopefully next week they'll take care of business at Haleyville. But also Oakman looks like a 3. I'm thinking.
Yeah, they're probably going to wind up at that 3rd spot.
It looks like a 3. We would guess 3 at this point.
They've got the head-to-head win over Fayette County, which is huge because they're not traveling to Piedmont. They're probably going to be, I hate to say it,
Piedmont
but
second round now.
Yeah, Piedmont is second round. Yeah, that's just what I was going to say.
It's better than opening.
I agree.
But they still have a chance to be 1st, actually. Lynn is it'll come down to they're going to host. They'll be 1st or 2nd.
They'll be 1st or 2nd. They got South Lamar in 2 weeks, which is going to be just a massive,
that'll be
massive
a huge
game.
Crowd.
Unless South Lamar gets beat by Hubbardville this week, which
is
it's possible, but I just don't think.
I would be really surprised.
So would I.
And Addison looks like they'll be at home probably in the playoffs as well.
Most likely at that 2nd spot behind Hackleburg.
All right, so Winston County still has work to do here, and it's not
a lot
easy.
Of work to do.
They got to win one of these.
And it's Addison,
both on the road.
Yeah, Aliceville, Lamar County. In my opinion, they're not going to beat Aliceville now. At Lamar County, in Vernon, it's always a hard place to win, Vernon. But I think they could win that. I think they could beat the Bulldogs there, but it would be tough.
Yeah, I really think last week they just don't match up. Sometimes you just don't match up well. They don't match up well with Tuscaloosa County for some reason. That team they have a couple losses, but they always thump Winston County. So maybe they can beat Osville. It'd be a big win. So any teams? Are you surprised there's somebody not in the playoff mix this year?
Well, I'm surprised that at this point Meek hasn't clinched it, and I'm also surprised that Corner is where they're at. And we just mentioned this. Absolutely. I thought 5-5, and now they're all the way up to the top of our area. So that's pretty much the only surprises. I thought Winston County was probably going to be in a better position than what they were in now.
Almost beat Silligent. They did. Now if they could go back, lost by a touchdown. All right, so I guess my biggest surprise is Jasper. I thought they'd be a playoff team this year. I really did. They weren't close. Yeah. I thought Cordova might have a chance to make the playoffs.
I thought Cordova was going to, go on a real tear in that region, but everything just
just fell wrong. I don't know, it just went wrong this year.
I thought that, when Cody Hedrick, when he graduated, I thought, okay, there's going to be a step down, but, Coach is finally getting a chance to, get his system in, that things are building. It just shows how integral he was to that team last year that went 5-5.
Yeah, you got a high school quarterback and you keep him there 4 or 5 years as starter, and then you lose the guy's huge. All right, so we'll jump into college here. Boy, you were at an Alabama game. That's kind of a weird game.
It was.
They jumped out, looked like they had complete control at halftime.
It's one of those games that you're really going to have to chalk it up to, okay, everyone has one now and then, where you're slow, all kinds of distractions with eclipses going on overhead and stealth bombers flying over for the national anthem, and it's an 11 a.m. local time kick, and they had the lead. Like you said, 24-6, 18-point lead, and they completely blew it, nearly lost. They forgot how to tackle a quarterback. So Alabama winning by 3. There was a time where I thought, oh my goodness, Arkansas is going to win this thing.
Alabama finally ran out the clock, 24-21. Does it worry you that game was close?
Absolutely. It worries me a lot because Arkansas is not impressive. And,
no.
The Razorbacks, they have Mississippi State this week, so maybe they'll dominate the Bulldogs and we'll think, oh, Arkansas is not that bad. But it's really not good, especially at home, in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, that was surprising, really, because Arkansas, like you said, I think they got 2. Are they 2-5?
They're 2-5.
It's incredible.
But they only have one loss by more than one possession.
Close.
Everything's really close.
Been really, really close.
Seems like that's how Arkansas
They're
normally
not a bad
does.
team. On the other hand, speaking of bad teams, Auburn gets a horrendous loss, 48-18.
Yeah, from my understanding,
to LSU.
From my understanding, you didn't watch the end of that game, did you? You left it, didn't you?
No, I did. I turned it back.
You turned it back. Good.
I turned it back.
Good.
Yeah, because I was like, well, I thought maybe they'd score again.
I was worried about you.
And I just don't understand why LSU had their starter in the game scoring a touchdown with like 3 minutes to go.
Yeah.
That is I don't know. But in college, hey, if you got it, you want to run the score up, that's fine. That's on the other team. I
reckon.
You, right?
Hey, I reckon LSU learned from Baylor UCF earlier in the season.
Yes, just if you can, put your foot on the throat.
Do not sit on a 20-something point lead. Get it to 30 or 40, then you can start easing on the brakes.
Like Colorado.
Right.
Set on 29-0 halftime lead and lost. Incredible. All right, so why can't this Auburn team just go forward, consistently forward? What do you think the problem is? Is that coaching? Is it players?
It's got to be a combination because they have talent and they have good coaching. The thing is, it just has not meshed. No. They've put together, in my opinion, one decent game, one good game, and they've still got 3 wins. But Georgia was their best game of the season, where they came within 7 points. They just forgot how to cover tight ends.
It's just and now he's hurt.
Yep, Brock Bowers is injured.
It'll be a different game now. Auburn probably lose by 30. So the weird thing is, Auburn plays Georgia, has all this momentum, goes into an awful week, and lays an absolute egg. It was awful. It was nothing. I mean, they jumped all over them. It's like they didn't want to be there. I mean, it was a mess. Now they come back home this week, and that'll be tough again. So Peyton Thorne, they should have known with this guy's haircut that it wasn't the right answer. Well, I've seen young people with this haircut. It's just, I'm an old man at this point. So,
right. Old Johnathan sitting there.
No,
remember back in the day?
Buzz cut. Johnny Unitas. That's how you're supposed to look. Anyway, he is just off. Would you switch quarterbacks?
I would. I've seen Robbie Ashford play a couple of times this season, and when he's in there, the offense clicks. Then they take him out, put in Thorne, and it all falls apart. So I think right now you definitely would switch to Robbie Ashford, let Peyton Thorne sit on the bench and watch and maybe improve in practice.
Free said he was going to do the same thing this week. So Peyton Thorne, I think it's a 1 year. It was a miss. They completely missed on this guy.
Well, I agree with Hugh Freeze. Peyton Thorne's going to do the same thing this week.
It could be somewhere else next year.
Yeah.
Probably. Along with the OC. I think it's another. It's so many different problems. It's not just one thing. All right, so do you have some picks this week?
I do. I've got just a handful because it's not a great slate, but it's not a bad slate either. There are a couple of intriguing games. I'm going to start out west with a game that USC always seems like they're favored to beat Utah every year. They're probably going to beat Utah, Utah's had their number the past couple of seasons.
Beat them twice last
year. Yeah, Lincoln Riley cannot beat the Utes. And USC's coming off a devastating loss to Notre Dame. Yeah. Caleb Williams, your reigning Heisman Trophy winner, throws 3 interceptions. It's a terrible, terrible game. And now USC's got to try to rebound if they want to get any chance of a playoff back on the line. So what do you think happens in this one?
I think now if they were at Utah, I'd pick Utah. They're going back home. They're mad. I'm picking them to win this game, but I could see this as the turning point, and then maybe they start going down after this. But I will take USC at home. I'm
going to agree with you. If USC had beaten Notre Dame last week and they're undefeated, then Utah all day long. But they're, like you said, they're mad. USC, they have too much talent, too good of a head coach. They're not going to lose 2 games in a row, in my opinion. I got the Trojans winning this one. All right, now there's another intriguing game I brought up earlier, Mississippi State, Arkansas, and it's intriguing because neither of them have looked good this season. So who plays worse?
Mississippi State has had a really, really bad. And if you look at records, I think Mississippi State's same as Auburn, 3-3.
They're 3-3. Yes,
and then you got Arkansas 2-5, but I think Arkansas is far superior. I agree. At home, I think they'll finally get. Did they have an SEC team a win yet? Arkansas. I think they're both looking for one. So I give Arkansas. I think they'll win handily. Actually,
I agree with you, but I do think it's going to be close. Mississippi State's defense, I think, is going to keep Arkansas bottled up for a little bit before the Razorbacks go off on a tangent. All right, third game, a massive game in the Big Ten. Penn State, Ohio State, top 7. They're both in the top 7. Penn State, of course, ranked 7th, a lucky number. Ohio State at 3rd behind Michigan and Georgia. It's at Ohio State, at the Horseshoe. Does Penn State finally break through and prove that they're better than the other 2 teams in their division, or do they get relegated once again to the rest of y'all?
I think it's going to be really close, but if it was at Penn State, oh my gosh, it'd be really tough to pick. Ohio State's not looked good either. Penn State's probably looked better than them, but they've both had moments where neither of them looked great, but Ohio State at home, I've got to go with them.
Yeah, Ohio State's battle-tested. They beat Notre Dame, and I learned the hard way. It's tough to pick against Ohio State. And Ohio State's one of those teams where, you might think they're not going to win, but pick them anyway. So that's what this is exactly what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. I've got to, because I don't think Penn State's there yet. They're close. James Franklin. Can you believe that this guy James Franklin was at Vanderbilt, and he had turned them into something successful. Penn State snatches him up. That shows just how good a head coach he is.
Yeah, he could win anywhere.
He could.
If you can win at Vanderbilt, you can do it anywhere. Because who else has done it at Vanderbilt? Nobody.
Yeah. And Clark Lee probably is not going to do it either. Of course, Vanderbilt.
They might beat Auburn this year.
Well, right. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that, but I'm also not going to say that they will.
It's a road game, so.
Speaking of Auburn, we'll jump into our 2 local teams here. Auburn is hosting Ole Miss, an Ole Miss team that under Lane Kiffin, they'll win their big games like they did against LSU, and then they're going to have games where they just fall apart, like against Alabama this season. They only scored 10 points. So does Auburn have a chance here, or does Ohio State run them over?
Ohio State? Wow, who are they playing here? Well, Ohio State will be awful. They have a better chance. It's at home, and Ole Miss is a lot like LSU. So the back-to-back weeks of this game, basically. LSU, but I mean, it's at home. LSU won by 30. They can't. Auburn's not going to trade shot for shot with these teams on offense. Just can't do it. I mean, they can barely score. So I don't see them winning this game. It's a bad matchup for them. Georgia was a better matchup than
it was.
Just because they can't score. They can't. I mean, a couple of minutes into the game, be 10-0, and that'll be the game over. So Auburn will probably lose. I see maybe 38-14 or something like that.
Okay, I'm going to say this game winds up 42-7. Ole Miss wins. So I think Auburn's defense might have a couple of moments in the game where it looks like, okay, they can climb back in this. And then, much like the LSU game, Ole Miss is going to slam on the throttle, go for the jugular, and they're going to win this one big. All right, final game, Tennessee at Alabama. It's in Tuscaloosa, revenge game for Alabama. First time since 2007 Alabama's looking for revenge against the Volunteers. Does Tennessee go 2 in a row, or does Bama get that revenge?
Boy, I'm not ever going to pick against Alabama pretty much. But Tennessee, look, last week, Texas A&M gave them, it was a great game. It was an ugly game. Kind of like Alabama's. It was an ugly game, too. If Arkansas pushed Alabama to the limit, shouldn't Tennessee do the same?
That's true. Of course, the game against Texas A&M last week you brought up was alarming. Only 20-13, Tennessee won. And
Fisher.
In all honesty, I was kind of thinking, gosh, I hope A&M doesn't win this because I don't want a mad Tennessee team coming to Tuscaloosa. So maybe Tennessee's going to think, we don't have any problems, and then they go get steamrolled. It just seems like this is going to be the kind of game Alabama wakes up for, though. Don't you agree?
I do. And, maybe they get mad after last week. Maybe they could have been looking ahead, possibly.
So could Tennessee.
Yes. And, boy, I was glad to see Jimbo Fisher lose. But I think this will be a close one, maybe 10 points, something like that, 31-21.
Okay, 31-21. So you're saying Bama's defense is going to bottle them up. And if Joe Milton starts stretching the field, then it's probably going to be over because Alabama's offense cannot keep up. It's got to be the defense.
Defense is where they
Last year, that Pete Golding defense allowed 52 points. They probably won't even allow half that this year. I think the defense will be ready.
Incredible defense.
Question is, does the offense get ready? And I agree with you. That 31-21, I like that. I think that's probably where it's going to wind up. Maybe 35-24, something around in that area.
Millwell's going to hit a couple bombs.
He will. He's good.
Always going to hit a few. And that'll be the difference.
That's right.
Milton struggled. It's been a weird year for a lot of stuff. Anything else you have?
Those are all the games I have. I like that 5 games. I had it for the past few weeks, 5 games. So I'm sticking with that this week. That's all I got.
Right. I do want to mention one thing. What about that Coosa? We had a game in the state last week that was 94-7. Have you ever seen anything like that? It was Coosa Christian over Cedar Bluff.
Yeah, Coosa Christian. They're the ones that took Lynn out of the playoffs last year, weren't they?
Bounced them. Yes, they did.
And according to rumors, Cedar Bluff and Coosa Christian had a beef going.
Yeah, I think there was something there.
They were not exactly on the best of terms with each other. Coosa Christian really took it out in the worst way.
I don't even know how you scored
94-7.
You don't have that many minutes in a high school game. There's not a whole lot of time to score 94 points.
48 minutes of high school game.
That means you were scoring just constant.
Yeah, bad math, but they would have had to score a touchdown, and probably a touchdown every couple of minutes. Well, probably a touchdown every 3 minutes.
Yeah, just every time they got the ball. Every time they got quickly.
Very quickly.
And LSU, they played Lynn last year in the playoffs, and it was a really well-coached team. I was really impressed. They had a player go down. They were running the ball first half, had their running back go down, and went to a completely different style in the second half, and still succeeded. And that's why they got so far. All right, so that wraps up our show. I'd like to thank Bevill State for being the sponsor. Go Bears, always, in every sport. Thanks for Jake for producing, and we'll see you next week.
Bevill State
is your community college
for convenient and affordable academic transfer options,
rewarding health science programs, high wage, high demand career tech training.
Your story starts at Bevill State.